Did it go to the next XAML sequence dot XAML? No, right? It didn't, right? So basically, there should be some communication sent right to this main.xaml. Okay, after getting two numbers, I want you to invoke this sequence.xaml. So you have to go to this sequence.xaml also, and then you have to perform these things and all, right? So there is no communication sent currently, right? So we have to initiate that communication. How we can initiate that? Basically we have to invoke this sequence, right? Sequence.xaml. So after getting two numbers, the flow should move to sequence.xaml, right? How we can do that? So yesterday, like at the end of the session, I have mentioned like there is one activity called invoke workflow file. So what this does, like it will invoke the sequence.xaml, whatever the XAML name which we are going to give, right? So here it will expect only one thing, that is whatever XAML that you want to invoke, that particular XAML name you have to give it over here. How we can do? Just click on browse for file, and then it will take you to the project folder, and over here you will be able to see two XAML, which XAML we want to invoke, whether it is main.xaml or sequence.xaml. Yeah, because the sequence.xaml only has our addition operation, right? So we are going to invoke this. One way of invoking is like this. The other way would be like if you go to project tab, we want to invoke this sequence.xaml, right? Just do drag and drop similar to activities, so that it will directly, you will be able to see this particular thing directly, okay, without doing browse for file actions and all. So now we have invoked this, okay. So let's see whether at least it is, the control is going to the sequence.xaml or not, okay. So any guesses, like we will be going to get the result? Okay, let's see. I'll give it as 10 and then 20. So now it is going to this particular activity, that is invoke for workflow file activity. In that we have given the XAML name as sequence.xaml, and you can see on the left hand side, okay, that will be available under locals panel. So variables, right? The first number is filled with value 10, and then the second number is filled with 20. These are all the things that we have given, right, as the end user. So these are the two variables, and this is the value which got assigned to it, okay. So and if I do step into, now the flow is moving, right? It is getting moving to this particular sequence.xaml, and if you see, these are the two arguments that we have created, and you can see the value is showing us 0, okay. But our expectation would be like, here whatever we have given 10, 20, that should be passed to here, right? But still it is showing us 0 only. Maybe like, we'll go to this assign activity and let's check like whether the value is coming or not, okay. So if I do step into, it is coming to assign activity, and if I do step into what it is giving, it is still 0 0 only. Basically it is still null only, so the result is also null only, because 0 plus 0, it is 0 only, right? So the result is also being shown as 0 only, okay. So if I do step into, we are getting 0, but our expectation is like it should return the value as 30, right? That's what the expected outcome, right? But why we are not getting it? Because, sorry, correct. Are we assigning like, are we making any dependency between this first number to this in argument in number one? No, right? There is no a dependency between these two, right? So that's the reason like we are getting as null, okay. And if you observe, in this sequence.xaml, when we tracked this activity, we were able to see something called as import arguments showing us 0. Okay, so if I click on this particular button, right, you can see these are the two arguments that we have created in sequence.xaml. So now that we are trying to import that argument to main.xaml. Okay, so here you can see these are the two arguments that we have created, and this of direction in and a type int 32. Now what we have to really do is, like, we are in main.xaml only, right? So in main.xaml we will be still able to access our variables, right? We can still access that, right? So I am typing f. Okay, so if I type f, see, we are getting this variable first number, so I am passing that. And similarly, second number I am passing. Why we are passing like this? What it will do in the back end? See, in number one. Okay, so this is the argument. For this particular argument, whatever value that we have, right, in first number. So in first number, after user enters some value, the first number will be going to fill with a 10. Okay, so basically here we are doing some assign operation. Okay, so in number one, we'll have the value of first number. Similarly, in number two, we'll have the value of second number. So basically, like, we are sending input. Okay, so first number will be sent as a input, that is indirection input to the in number one, and then second number, whatever value which second number is going to hold, that will be sent as a input to in number two. Okay, so this is the explanation. Okay, so if I click on okay, and I'll be doing save. Now if we run it, will we get the result displayed or not, like the actual outcome was 30 or not? Let's see. So I'm giving 10, and then the next value I'm giving as 20. So now it is going to put the sequence.xaml, and here you can see in number one. Last time it was showing us 0, right? But this time, if you see, in number one has the value 10, and in number two has the value 20. Why it is like here we are assigning, right? By clicking on import arguments, here we are assigning. So that's the reason, like, the value is successfully passed to the another XAML. Okay. So now if we do step into the operation will happen anyways. 10 plus 20 equal to 30. We will be going to get in result. See, we are getting as 30, and it is displaying the output, right? But this is not our actual requirement, right? What is our actual requirement? We want to get two inputs in this XAML, and addition operation, only addition operation has to happen over here, but we don't want to display the result over here. In the sequence.xaml itself, we don't want to display. Instead of that, again, we want to display the result over here in the main.xaml itself. Okay, again, what it has to do, the result value has to be passed to main.xaml, right? So, but if you use variable, then you will be not able to. Okay, so in simple, then comes to the out argument. Okay, so here still now, like, we have seen what is in argument, and we have demonstrated that, right? So when we use out argument, so what I'll do is, let me just copy this statement and then paste it. When child is sending some input, okay, from to parent. Okay, so when child is sending some input to the parent, right, basically here child is going to have some output, right? The result is nothing but the outcome, right, after adding two numbers. So whenever the child is sending some input to the parent, then we have to create out argument in the child example only. Again, here also we are going to create out argument in the child example only. If all the argument creation will happen in the child sequence only. Okay, so now instead of storing the output in a result variable, what I will do is I will create a argument. Okay, that argument is going to hold our result out underscore result, and the direction should be of type out, and then again it is going to be integer. Okay, why we are creating our argument instead of variable? So last time we have created a variable, right? But this time why we are creating out argument is because in the main.xaml you don't have any link to import the variable. You have only thing to import the argument. Okay, so that's the reason we are creating the argument. Okay, so here out underscore result we are using. Suppose assume like we are instead of argument, right? If we store result, if we use variable, right? Then see, if I go to main.xaml, if I click on import argument here, in the word, in the terminology itself, what it is telling, we are going to import the argument, right? We are not going to import the variable. So there is no communication, right? So you will be not able to use the variable. So that's the reason like we are using argument. Okay, and so now assume like we have successfully going to get the result, whatever result that we have here, right? That we will be going to get it to the main.xaml. But in the main.xaml, see, how it will work in the back end is like after this particular thing, right? Out underscore result that will be stored in a temporary memory. Okay, but here to display the result in the main.xaml, there should be some link, right? Basically, it has from the temporary memory, it should be getting stored in some permanent memory, right? So for that reason, what I will do is I will create one more variable here called result. Okay, anything you can name. So now I'm going to mention as integer 32, and then if I click on import argument, what I'm going to do, whatever variable that I have created in the main.xaml, that I'm going to mention it over here result. So you know like how the first in argument works, right? In the backend, so whatever value like we have, first number will be sent as a input to in number one. But here how it will work, right? Basically out result will have some value that will be sent as a output to result. So here the assigning thing will happen like this. Okay, but whereas for in argument it will happen in this way. Okay, first number to in number one, but here out result to result. Okay, so it will work in this particular. So basically it is a vice versa. Okay, so now what I will do, I will click on OK, and to display the result to the end user, which activity we have to use? Message box, message box. Yeah, so now we know the result is going to store in the variable called result. So we are going to use that result over here. Okay, so now let's see whether it is going to display the result over here or not. Again, I'm doing step into it's just for the initial thing so that you will be able to understand how it works in the back end also. Okay, so again I'll give it a strength, and then we'll give it as 20. Now the sequence, the flow will move to the sequence.xaml, and now you can see initially in number one has some value called 10, and in number two has value 20. But out result you can see it is 0 for now. Okay, so if I do step into, still it is 0 because this activity execution is not yet completed. Okay, but on the bottom though you can see value is going to come as 30. Okay, that is we are clear. So if I do step into, you can see the out result the value 0 has been overridden by the value 30 because the execution got completed. So that's the reason we are getting the value as 30. Still, till now, like we are in the sequence.xaml only. Once I click step into, you can see last time we had result value as null, but as soon as we do step into, right, again the flow has been moved to this particular XAML main.xaml, and here using this particular argument we are passing the output to the variable result. So that's the reason the result value null has been overridden by the value 30. Okay, so now if we do step into it, we'll go to the next activity and we will be going to get the result as 30. Clear, right? Yeah. So now we have seen two directions in argument. The other one is in or out. Okay, so what this in or out, how it will work? It work in both the ways. Okay, so using in or out argument, we will be able to get the input as well as we will be able to send the output. Okay, so it will work in both the ways. Okay, so to demonstrate that, what I will do is here, like we have created two argument, right? Basically three argument. In number one, in number two for getting input, and out result is sending for output, right? So instead of this, what I will do is I have deleted out result argument. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to convert this in number one direction to in or out. Okay, so here I will change this direction in or out. Correspondingly, I have changed the naming convention also. I in and then o out. Okay, so in out. So I have changed the naming convention also. And the result, right, after adding two numbers, again I'm going to store it in io number one only. Okay, that is in or out argument. So what it is going to do, I'll click on import argument, and then in IO number one, what we have to give? We have to send the value number one, right? Basically, the first number, and I will move this to top. So IO number one, basically what I'll tell you like before running how it is going to work. Okay, so for the very first time, like when it is going to invoke, how it will work is it will work as in argument first. Okay, so this first number value will be going to assign to io number one. Okay, and after doing the addition operation and all, right, so it is going to store the output in this particular argument only. At that time it will act as a out argument. So whatever value that IO number one has, right, that will be again sent assigned to first number. Okay, so maybe while we are going to execute, right, that time you will understand why we are using in or out argument is to reduce the number of argument and the number of variables which we are using. See, here we have created a result variable, but we don't need this result variable anymore, right? Because we are assigning the output also to the same variable again, first number only, right? And here also we have created more argument called out result. Sorry, yeah. This see, wait, I will run it and then show that you will get to know more. See, we have two things. One is first number. These two things are variables. First number and then second number. So will give us 10 and then will give us 20. Now if we do step into in sequence.xaml, you have only two arguments. One is IO number one and the second is in number two. Basically one input output argument and the on in argument. Okay, so now if I do step into, it will take me to the sequence.xaml, and you can see io number 1 has value 10 and in number 2 has value 20. Okay, so now if I do step into, already the user has entered value 10 only. All right, so before execution of this particular activity it was 10, but now it is 30, because like we, after adding addition, like we are storing the result in the same io number one only. Okay, so now if I do step into, that value will be passed to first number. See, first time when user was entering, that time the value was 10, but now we have the value